In this video, we will talk about theories of motivation. This video is based on chapter 4 of the book written by Lindenberg and Ornstein in 2011. And the title of the book is Educational Administration, Concepts and Practices. And the book was published by Cengage Learning. So we will begin by talking what definitions of motivation exist out there. And we will discuss two groups of theories of motivation. So the first group is content theories, and the second group is process theories. Among content theories, we will discuss four most popular ones, including Maslow's need hierarchy theory, Eldorfer's ERG theory, then Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory, and McClelland's learned needs theory. Among process theories, we will discuss Bandura's self-efficacy theory, Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equity theory, and Locke and Latham's goal-setting theory. So there are a lot of definitions of motivation out there, and if you analyze them, you will notice that all of those definitions, at least most of them, contain three common aspects of motivation. They are first effort, that refers to the magnitude or intensity of work-related behavior. Second aspect is persistence, which describes how sustained that work-related effort is. And the third aspect of motivation in those definitions is direction, right? Basically, that describes if this first two aspects describe the quantity of work, direction describes quality of work, and in the sense that we are interested as administrators in the direction that benefits the employer. Okay, so noticing that there are three common aspects of all those definitions, a working definition that we could use for the purposes of understanding employee motivation is the extent to which persistent effort is directed towards organizational goals. Okay, so the first group of theories about motivation are content theories, and they are called content theories because they are concerned with identifying specific factors that motivate employees, right? So they are about what energizes human behavior. Okay, and here are the four most popular content theories of motivation, which we will discuss one by one. Okay, and let's begin with Maslow's need hierarchy theory, perhaps the most widely known because of that pyramid. You've probably seen that pyramid of needs somewhere. So basically, what Maslow did in his need hierarchy theory is he identified 5 basic groups of needs humans have, and he arranged them in pre-potency hierarchy, so basically in the order of importance, right? So the first level of human needs is physiological. That includes things like food, water, shelter, right? And that level could be satisfied by things like salary and working conditions, okay? The next level of needs is safety, right? We all need safety, and at a workplace, this needs can be satisfied by providing safe working conditions, fair rules and regulations, job security, pension, insurance plans, salary increases, freedom to unionize. The third level is the social level, right? We need to be social. We like to be liked. We need to be loved. We want to build relationships. So this level of needs can be satisfied at a workplace by employee-centered supervision, providing opportunities for teamwork, following group norms, and sponsoring group activities. Okay, the next level is esteem needs, right? The need for recognition, for respect, right? And this level of needs can be satisfied at a workplace by recognition and award programs, maybe articles in newsletters, right? Highlighting achievements of people, promotions, and even prestigious job titles, okay? The highest level of needs is self-actualization. That is related to, realizing one's full potential, and that level can be satisfied at a workplace by involving employees in planning job designs, in making assignments that capitalize on unique skills of people, and by relaxing the structure to allow for personal growth. Okay. Um, Really, you can see already that the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, is easy to understand and can be used to analyze motivational problems in schools. Also, as we discussed, there are specific things that could be done to, to satisfy each particular level of needs. What we know in more recent research is that the research shows no evidence of rigid five-step hierarchy, right? So Maslow argues that only only when a lower level need is satisfied, then a person is interested in the next level of the needs, right? But we find actually research shows there is no evidence of that kind of hierarchy. However, we have research evidence showing that unless the two lower level needs, the physiological and security levels, are satisfied, people are not very interested or not very concerned with the higher level needs. So there is something there about that hierarchy, but so far the evidence we have confirms kind of hints that this hierarchy is not that straightforward and not that rigid. Okay, so the second content theory we will talk about is Clayton Alderfer's ERG theory. Basically, it's very similar to Maslow's need hierarchy theory, but it is more flexible about the prepotency of needs, about this hierarchy. Okay, so Clayton Alderfer is not uh, in contrast to Maslow, is not arguing that you have to satisfy a lower level in order to move on to the next level. He's really more flexible about that. And ERG, in the name of the theory, stands for existence, relatedness, and growth. Okay, so these three words are basically the three categories of needs that Alderfer distinguishes, and they are kind of a revised or further developed version of Maslow's hierarchy theory in a sense, right? So the first category of needs, existence needs, that is roughly, similar to Maslow's physiological and material desires in the kind of lower levels, right? Then ERG theory distinguishes relatedness needs. These are about interpersonal relations with others, and growth needs. Those are about intrinsic desire to grow and develop. Right. So you see how it is kind of similar to Maslow's need hierarchy, but it is also different. Right. Let's compare them. The two biggest differences between Maslow's theory and ERG theory is that Maslow argues that lower level needs should be satisfied before higher level needs, right? This very rigid hierarchy. In contrast, ERG theory is arguing people may have, they may experience several needs simultaneously, right? You don't have to really, there is no rigid hierarchy. The second difference is that Maslow argues that when a need is satisfied, it no longer is a motivator, right? So once you satisfied, for example, your physiological needs, you move on to the next one and you don't care about physiological needs anymore. However, ERG theory is arguing that it is possible that as you move up the levels, of needs, if one gets frustrated with higher order needs, right? People may regress to a lower level category, right? So um, they start they decide to focus on something which is at a lower level. Okay, so this theory is also quite easy to understand and is and can be used to analyze motivational problems in schools, right? So the frustration regression aspect is something that should be well understood by school administrators in order to, understand people's behavior, right? So you can see that if there is a school principal like who's been there for like maybe 10 or more years, right, already kind of fulfilled lower level needs, but cannot really do much more in her position because the job is so demanding, there is no more space for growth, that principal may regress to a lower level need, maybe like to the, maybe to the relatedness need, right? And start focusing more on relations or other things, right? So that's something important to understand for school administrators. Another takeaway from this theory is that cultural differences and values may influence needs, and people are motivated by different needs at different times in their lives. I think these are some of the very straightforward implications of this ERG theory for educational administrators. The third content theory of motivation is Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory. Okay, so this theory, in fact, it builds on two previous theories, on Maslow's and Alderfer's theories, and by building on those theories, it focuses on work environment factors, right? Not on within individual needs as two previous theories, but really on what's influencing people's motivations at work, things that are in the work environment. Okay, so Herzberg distinguishes two factors that influence motivation. So the first group of factors are hygiene factors, and what they do is they only prevent dissatisfaction, right? This corresponds roughly to Maslow's lower level needs, and basically these factors, if you as a school administrator decide to use these factors to motivate your employees, what they will do is they only ensure that your employees perform at minimum levels. Okay. The second group of factors are called motivators, and they are a source of satisfaction and motivation. And they roughly correspond to Maslow's higher level needs. And if you, as an administrator, decide to use the motivator factors to boost the morale at the workplace, then you might be doing the right thing, because these factors contribute to superior performance. So some implications for practice really is that the basic idea of the importance of what the job is about, the job content factors, right? So before Herzberg's theory, administrators were mostly concerned with hygiene factors, right? So for example, if a boss had a morale problem, perhaps a typical solution would be offer a higher salary or more benefits, right? Maybe better working conditions. But now that we know that these things are about the hygiene factors, they really just prevent dissatisfaction, but they don't really motivate people. So these approaches are not really motivating. Okay. Another implication is that overall, Herzberg's theory broadened administrators' perspectives by showing the role of intrinsic rewards. Okay. And also in this theory, from this theory, we got this concepts of job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction, right? And overall, the idea that, for example, dissatisfied employees, specifically teachers in the case of educational organizations, dissatisfied people may weaken the organization, right? And specifically, dissatisfied teachers may weaken educational programs. The last content theory we will discuss is McClelland's learned needs theory, okay? And this theory is based on the idea that people acquire or learn certain needs from their culture, okay? And culture here has kind of a broader kind of, sense in that it is the following cultural influences are distinguished by McClelland: family, personal experiences, professional experiences, and even the type of organization for which a person works. Okay, so examples of learned needs are need for achievement, right? So people who have a high need for achievement, they want to be working towards challenging but attainable goals. These people usually prefer to work alone. They choose moderately difficult tasks, and they want feedback and recognition. And for them, money is not a very strong motivator, right? So The second example of learned needs is need for affiliation. This people who have a high need for affiliation, they really want friendly and close relationships at the workplace. They tend to be nice, friendly, and supportive, and they are really interested in reducing tension. Okay. The third example of learned needs is need for power, and people who have high need for power, they want to influence others. They like to take control, change people or situations, and McClelland distinguishes two types of power. Personalized power is when power is loved for its own sake and people use power to advance their personal goals. And the second type of power, according to McClelland, is socialized power, is when a person likes power because it allows him to help other people, all right, in general. So some implications for practice are for example, one of the biggest implications that I think this theory offers is administrators have to learn and have to identify the need for achievement, need for affiliation, and need for power in themselves and in other people, right? So um, let's speak about need for achievement, right? So as an administrator, if you are a high achievement administrator, or there is an administrator who is high in achievement, need for achievement, this kind of people will struggle to delegate, okay, and they will be hardly satisfied with average group members, okay. So you see how immediately these concepts of these needs, they kind of translate into day-to-day decisions, important strategic decisions, HR decisions. um, Also, if you have employees who have a high need for achievement, if you set your goals for them too high, this will not motivate high achievement employees, and they will, because they prefer attainable goals, okay. If we look at the need for affiliation, people high in their need for affiliation, they might have a difficulty being effective leaders because they overly emphasize the social dimension, and that may interfere with the accomplishment of tasks. However, I should say that it depends on the organization's norms and goals. If the goal of an organization is to have a lovely, friendly and very harmonious environment or relationships, then maybe that kind of person would be the perfect leader in that workplace. Okay, if we look at the need for power, it is obvious that if administrators will be more effective if they have a high need for socialized power. Okay, power to help others. So now let's turn to process theories, right? This group of theories, they do not focus on where does motivation come from, but really on how different factors interact to affect people's motivations. Basically, they are about how motivation occurs, okay? The process of motivation. And we will talk about these four theories one by one. The first process theory is Albert Bandura's self-efficacy theory, very widely known, very widely researched. There's a lot of work done in this direction, so a very fruitful, empirical research-wise theory. It has other names. Social cognitive theory is another name, and social learning theory is also another name that is used to refer to this Bandura's self-efficacy theory, okay? So basically, self-efficacy is a person's belief that she is capable of performing a particular task successfully, right? So it's very simple idea that people, we don't start doing things that we don't believe we can do, okay? So Bandura distinguished three dimensions of self-efficacy. The first is magnitude. It is about the level of difficulty a person believes she can attain. The second dimension is strengths. It is about conviction, one's conviction about the magnitude, whether the magnitude is strong or weak. And the third dimension is generality. It is about the degree to which the expectation is generalized across situations. It's like, okay, I was successful in this case, but can I really do well in that another context, right? So that's about generality. And according to Bandura's theory, self-efficacy influences the goals that employees choose for themselves. Self-efficacy influences learning as well as the effort that people invest in the job, exert on the job. And finally, self-efficacy influences the persistence with which people attempt new and difficult tasks. And because self-efficacy is so important, because it influences so many things about people's behavior on the workplace, at the workplace, it is very important to talk about what are the sources of self-efficacy. And according to the self-efficacy theory, the sources of self-efficacy are past performance, vicarious experiences. So vicarious experiences are about, the experiences of like you can when a person observes other people do something. Okay, so if we see that someone very similar to us has made a specific achievement, that kind of boosts our self-efficacy. Okay, so if I see a superstar basketball player perform in a basketball game, I will probably not my self-efficacy about my basketball playing skills will not be boosted. But if I see someone like me, maybe I don't know, teach a wonderful lesson, that probably boosts my self-efficacy about being able to teach like that. Okay. And so the third source of self-efficacy is verbal persuasion. That is when either a person herself or other people verbally say, the desired outcome, and eventually, because of the Pygmalion effect, when you keep repeating something about yourself, that becomes true. Okay, that is possible. A classic example is when, in an experiment, the treatment group was in the treatment group, teachers were told that their students are super high in IQ, and the control group teachers were told that their students are just average in IQ. Teachers who were told that their students are super high in IQ, they spent more time with them, they were more excited to teach them, and eventually those students had higher achievement, right? So that is the example of Pygmalion effect. So it's a source of self-efficacy, all right? And the last source of self-efficacy identified in Bandura's theory is emotional cues, all right? So you see why this theory is also very kind of widely researched is also because people are interested in this, right? Self-efficacy influences a lot of important things, so it is important. And also there are 4 various ways we can improve or increase self-efficacy, right? So it's a real a policy instrument potentially for administrators, for teachers, right, to boost outcomes, right? So the second process theory of motivation is Victor Vroom's expectancy theory. Basically, it helps explain, helps us understand how behavior is directed, right? And it's concerned with understanding why employees choose certain paths towards obtaining outcomes that will satisfy their needs. So there are 4 assumptions behind this expectancy theory proposed by Victor Vroom. The first assumption is that people join organizations with expectations about their needs, motivations, and past experiences. The second assumption is that individuals' behavior is a result of a conscious choice. The third assumption is people want different things from the organization. And finally, people will choose among alternatives so as to optimize outcomes for them personally. All right. So in this expectancy theory, there are 4 key elements. The first element is outcomes, right? And Vroom distinguishes first level outcomes, which can be kind of understood as performance, and second level outcomes, which can also be roughly understood as rewards. All right. The second element in this theory is expectancy. It is the strength of belief that job-related effort will result in a certain performance level. Basically, it ranges from 0 to 1. People who have a 0 level expectancy, they don't believe at all that their effort at work will result in something good, basically in a good performance or in a good reward. And people who have expectancy level of 1, they are absolutely confident that if they work more, if they work better, then they will get a specific reward and they will get a certain performance level. Okay, so the third element in this expectancy theory is instrumentality, right? And it is about the relationship between performance and rewards. Also ranges from 0 and 1. So people who have very low instrumentality, they don't believe that that there is a strong relationship between performance and rewards, and instrumentality level of closer to 1, it has people believe that there is a stronger relationship between their performance and rewards. Okay, so finally, valence, it is a strength of an employee's preference for a particular outcome or reward, and it ranges from -1 to +1. That means it can be either negative or positive, right? Well, the biggest takeaway from this theory is that these 4 key elements, they kind of are about they are important for people's motivations, and administrators can affect each of these elements, and therefore they can affect people's motivation. Okay, so the next theory about the motivation process, the process theory, is Stacey Adams' equity theory. And basically, it argues that employees evaluate the equity or fairness of their outcomes by a process of social comparison. The social comparison compares the ratio of the outcomes an employee receives to the inputs that an employee invests, and then the employee compares the outcomes of others related to in relation to the inputs that other people invest, and then they compare these 2 ratios. All right, so here there could be an equal sign. That would be perfect equity, right? That means other people invest same amount of input and they are rewarded in the same way, or they have the similar outcomes as the person doing the comparison. There could be a greater or less than signs indicating inequity, right? Inequality in these proportions, right? So this theory really helps administrators understand how employees calculate what they put into the job, right? What they receive for their performance, and compare that with what they perceive others are contributing and receiving as rewards for performance. So if employees think that there is not enough equity, so that there is it's unfair, how the ratios are unfair, then if this kind of calculations show inequitable relationships, then if they are equity sensitive, and the theory argues that most people are equity sensitive, then employees may attempt to restore equity. And there are several ways. This is a very comprehensive theory. We will not touch upon specific ways to restore equity, but they include things that are very mild in nature, and up to things like just quitting from the job, right? So people might even quit from the job if they perceive if they notice inequitable relationships. So really, this is a very big theory, and recently it's been gaining more, it's been developing, and more recently, researchers focused on the concept of organizational justice, right? And they tend to distinguish 3 dimensions of organizational justice. First, distributive justice. It is about the fairness of distribution of rewards. Then procedural justice. This is about the fairness of procedures used to make decisions at the workplace. And finally, interactional justice. This is the quality of the treatment people receive when they are, either when the rewards are distributed or when different procedures are taking place during the decision-making processes, etc. Finally, Locke and Latham's goal-setting theory um, argues that goal setting helps employees channel their persistent effort toward organizationally relevant outcomes. And I guess the biggest takeaway from this theory is that goals can be a powerful motivational device on certain conditions. On conditions that the goals are specific, attainable, accepted, and accompanied by feedback. Okay, sounds nice, right? And it's probably something that you saw those coaches on YouTube, superstar coaches, I don't know, Tony Robbins and people like him tell you about, hey, you need to set goals, right? But here, note that we're talking about organization level, right? And there might be limitations to the goal setting process when we speak about an organization. So, for example, when typically in organizations, goals are combined with monetary rewards, right? If you perform better, then here's your salary increase, right? So when that happens, usually that motivates people to establish easy goals. There are cases even when people may negotiate with the management that they will do goals that they already actually achieved just in order to get the monetary reward, right? Another possible limitation at the workplace is that goal setting really focuses organization members on a narrow set of indicators, right? Because we want goals to be specific, attainable, right? Accepted, and even accompanied by feedback. That all means that this is about measurable things, right? And there are always aspects of a job that are difficult to measure, and it is especially true in teaching. So we can see that although goal setting theory is potentially very useful, and perhaps your school district, university, your organization, I'm absolutely confident that you guys have your organizational goals, your department goals, and maybe even employee level goals, right? We as theorists of educational administration should also know about the limitations of the goal setting and its use at an organization.